Hello everyone, I'm Pierrette and welcome to my kitchen. Today, in honor of Mother's Day, which is coming up on Sunday in case you're not keeping track, we're gonna make tiramisu pancakes, which makes a fabulous breakfast in bed or breakfast for the whole family. Even if it's not a special occasion, they are one of my favorites. I really only eat healthy food so that I can afford dessert, so that I can earn dessert. And this is absolutely one of my favorite treats, kind of combining dessert and breakfast, which is the most decadent way to start your day. So today we're gonna use some marscapone cheese, and that's the first step that we're gonna do. I've taken the mascarpone cheese and dumped it into a bowl. And I'm gonna add about a tablespoon of real maple syrup. Please use the real thing. The fake flavored syrups just don't do the trick. They don't give it the same amount of flavor, and it adds sugar without really giving it the depth of flavor that maple syrup does. So I'm just gonna stir this in. As you can see, it changes the color a little bit. It just makes it a very light gold color. And this is 1 package of mascarpone cheese to 1 tablespoon of maple syrup. And I promise you, you won't need any more than that. This is very rich and very decadent, but not necessarily super sweet. So we finished step 1, which is our mascarpone cheese, which was brought to room temperature, and then we mixed in a tablespoon of maple syrup. The second step is to mix up our pancake mix. Now this one's gluten-free, but you don't have to use this. Any type of pancake mix will do, whatever your favorite type is. This is asking for 1 cup of pancake mix and 1 egg. Without the shells. And then we need a little bit of butter. This is about a tablespoon and a half of butter, which I melted in the microwave. Now the recipe calls for oil, but I don't usually use oil when I cook. I almost always substitute butter unless I use olive oil, which doesn't always taste right. And then we just need a little bit of milk, about 2/3 of a cup. So we'll add some milk to this as well. And we want to mix it up so there are no lumps, because the lumps can be big globs of flour, and that's not delicious when you are eating a pancake, to run into a big lump of something. So we're just going to whip this a little bit with the whisk. And when you use a whisk, it's not so much a stirring motion around the bottom, it's more of a vertical motion with the whisk than it is stirring the sides of the bowl motion. And it's this whisking motion that gets the air into it and breaks up the lumps the best. So that looks pretty good. I'm gonna add just a splash more milk, because I'd rather have them be a little more liquidy and easy to spread than a big, heavy, kind of clumpy pancake. Clunky. Okay, now we're gonna head over to the cooktop and cook up pancakes, so hang tight. When I make these for my family, they all like coffee and I don't. So I usually make a couple of them in the beginning without coffee for me, and then I add the coffee for everyone else. This is just a little package of instant coffee. And you just wanna sprinkle it in there and then mix it up. And in the beginning, you'll see the little speckles of coffee, but that doesn't last long. Eventually the batter will kind of dissolve it and absorb it, and you'll have a mildly flavored coffee batter, which is exactly what you want if you like tiramisu. I like it without the coffee. I think it tastes better, but that's not the preference of most people who like tiramisu. So we're just going to cook some pancakes. So I've got a little bit of butter. And this has been warming on a medium-low heat. It probably should have been a little closer to medium. Our butter is starting to sizzle. That's always a good sound. It means your pan is hot and hot enough to melt your butter and perfect enough to cook the first layer of your pancakes quickly. So we're gonna put these on here. I usually do a pretty generous scoop of batter, and this is more of a serving spoon than a tablespoon. So it's probably, if I had to guess, about 1/4 cup of batter per pancake, but don't quote me. All right, so this is gonna make 3 pancakes right out of the gate, which is what I usually do for 1 serving. And then you can play with them a little bit so that they look a little more round, because that's always pretty when they look appetizing. We want them to look appetizing. So we're gonna let this go for just a minute, and we're gonna sprinkle some chocolate chips on top. So we have these cute little mini chips, and I just take a small pinch and sprinkle them on the top. I'm gonna turn that down just a little bit because I don't want the bottom to cook faster than the top, because then it makes them hard to flip. You could also put a lid over these if you wanted to help them to cook quickly and help the batter to cook on top. Generally, when you start to see holes coming through the batter, that's the right time to flip them. And we are not there just yet, but give me a minute and I'll show you what that looks like. These are looking pretty great. I think we are just about ready to flip them. You see how the very edges are starting to get those little holes in them, kind of like English muffins. And the centers are rising nicely. You can see that the edges are a little more cooked. The center still looks a little bit doughy, but that's okay. I think we're gonna give these a quick flip. I like to remind you guys that sometimes when you're cooking, you have to know your pan, you have to know your cooktop, you have to know your oven, and that just takes practice and patience. These are cooked really beautifully, kind of a nice golden color, and these are only gonna need another minute or 2, and then we're gonna serve them up. And I will show you how quickly they go together. Okay guys, we're ready to assemble. So we're gonna take our tiramisu pancakes. You start with just a smear of the marscapone cheese with the maple syrup in it. And I'm just gonna stack these. This is about a teaspoon of mascarpone over each pancake, and this kind of substitutes for butter. Mascarpone is a very buttery, mild flavored cheese with a buttery texture and a buttery flavor. When you add the maple syrup, it's absolutely incredible together. So all in all, about 3 teaspoons of mascarpone that we're just gonna smear all over it. And then we need a little whipped cream, because you can't have something decadent without whipped cream typically. Now, if you have a dairy allergy, I would recommend that you go with the coconut milk whipped cream instead of the non-dairy whipped cream, like a Cool Whip. I believe it just has fewer chemicals, but it's obviously personal preference as well. So we're gonna do a nice dollop of whipped cream, a few more chocolate chips, just to make it look spectacular, and a tiny drizzle of maple syrup over the whole thing, and literally just a drizzle, just for color. And then you're definitely gonna wanna bring this up to Mom as soon as it's ready. or whatever special person, whoever that special person is that you're making this for. And a little bouquet of pretty flowers never hurts either. So I would recommend that you make this for any special occasion where you want to treat someone you love to a fabulous breakfast, whether it's in bed or at the table with the family. It's absolutely scrumptious, and I feel very confident that you're going to love it. I hope you'll hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you soon. Take care.